Briefly, what we're going to be talking about today is the cancer stem cell. What is a cancer stem cell? It's the root of all cancer in the body. It makes all the other cancer cells. It originated from either a normal stem cell that was exposed to an inflammatory and toxic environment, or it dedifferentiated from a normal breast, lung, prostate, colon, or other organ and gland cell in one last effort to survive in a highly inflammatory and toxic environment. Cells in the body view the outside world as chemical and electrical signals. Those signals are the only contact they have with the outside world. And those signals are the forces that change the cells to react and to change their behavior. And what is behavior defined as? How something acts in response to the situation or environment. So what are these signals? They're biochemical and electromagnetic messages, predominantly made by the brain and sent out to all the other cells. Your brain receives thoughts, both subconscious thoughts and conscious thoughts, and these thoughts are translated in the brain into electromagnetic waves, and they are instantly broadcast to every cell in your body. Also, these thoughts stimulate biochemical signals to be made in the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, and the adrenal glands to signal a stress response in the body. It's just like your brain is talking to all 100 trillion cells in the body instantaneously on each individual cell's, we'll call it cell phone. Do you need to be healed today? Do you want to be healed today? Do you want more energy? Do you want more vitality? You know, the type you had when you were younger. Do you want to feel better? Do you want to look better? Do you want to start living? I said living, not merely existing day by day. Do you want to live life with a passion and a purpose? And do you want to go deeper in your relationship with God? If the answer to any of these is yes, you are about to begin a journey that will change your life forever. Hi, I'm Dr. Keith Nemec.
And I'm Lori Nemec, and we welcome you to Revolution New Medicine. Revolution New Medicine has been helping patients restore their health for over the past 40 years with our outpatient-inpatient treatment facility. Each time we meet, we will be covering a current topic of research in order to help you optimize your health.
And now I want to say the most important thing that I will say today. Sweetheart, I love you so very, 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 very much. The microenvironment that surrounds the cells are made first by the signals or messages sent from the mind to the brain. Then once the messages cause a chronic inflammatory environment to be produced, this supports the cancer stem cell growth and migration. And you know this as spread or metastasis. Then the cancer stem cells themselves send out messages locally to the microenvironment, that's the environment surrounding them, to maintain the inflammatory, low oxygen, highly acidic environment which continues to support their growth and spread. And this was clearly seen in research published in the Journal of Experimental and Clinical Research. They took pluripotent stem cells, and under a simulated chronic inflammatory environment, they were able to cause the normal pluripotent stem cells to become cancer stem cells. Essentially, they were able to simulate and observe the creating of the tumor microenvironment and the coaxing of normal stem cells into cancer stem cells. And what was the key factor? Inflammation. Inflammation and toxicity are the root of the formation of cancer stem cells, and cancer stem cells are the root of all the other cancer in the body.
Understanding cells and how they react, we want to consider their little world from their view. Stress or calm, anger or love, these are only to them chemical and electrical signals. Those signals are the only contact they have with their outside world. So the cells pay close attention to them. They are the forces that cause the cells to react and to change their behavior.
Let's define what behavior is. Behavior is how something acts in response to the situation or the environment. So it's a reaction to the environment made.
Normally, the signals are all in a standard, predictable fashion, meant to coordinate their function so that the cells are all working together for the common good of the whole body. Research is revealing just how important the microenvironment, that little world surrounding the cell, is, and how it can change how cells interpret the signals that they receive. When the microenvironment is good, the cells work together and the whole body functions properly. When the microenvironment is bad, cells get agitated and upset. When conditions are bad enough, they rebel against the normal order and they look for a better way, establishing a new order. This is cancer, the answer to a bad microenvironment. The transformation to cancer doesn't happen all at once, but in stages, which medical science simply calls precancer. A tumor is a colony of different types of cells. Tumor cells, supportive tissue, blood vessels, inflammatory immune cells, and a variety of tissue cells. The chemicals and signals that these cells receive and produce make up the environment within the tumor, which highly favors cancer and not the original tissue from which the tumor originated. Some of the cells within the colony are normal cells, which are now helping the tumor development. This is particularly true of the immune system cells.
Now, this is so important that you get this. What are these signals? The signals are what controls everything in the body. They are the biochemical and, most importantly, the electromagnetic messages. And they're predominantly made by the brain and sent out to all the cells. Where'd your brain get them from? Your brain receives the thoughts both subconsciously and consciously, and these thoughts are translated in the brain into electromagnetic waves, and they are instantly broadcast to every cell in your body. Also, these thoughts stimulate biochemical signals to be made in the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, and the adrenal glands to signal a stress response in every cell in the body.
The immune system initially tries to interfere with the development of the tumor. It sends in tumor-infiltrating lymphocytes. All cells are driven by signals that they receive from other cells and the environment. And these infiltrating cells listen to commands from the tumor cells. Soon they are standing guard against other immune killer cells, which would attack the cancer. Tumor-derived antigens, like any antigen, are considered foreign invaders, requiring an immune response. Dendritic cells carry the antigens to T cells, which then promote regulatory T cell production. They are special T cells that suppress further immune response. These are important in preventing autoimmunity. In essence, they are signaling, it's okay, we are all friends here, don't attack. As the tumor develops, it makes its own internal environment that further favors cancer stem cells and is hostile to normal cells. The normal cells that are in the tumor are coaxed to help the cancer stem cell develop.
So the coaxing of the cells in the local tumor microenvironment only happens after the messages came from the brain to the cells and caused these cells to produce an inflammatory response at the cellular level. This is because the mind is stressed, causing signaling to the cells to become stressed and inflammatory.
This process is explained in a review article published by researchers at the University of Pittsburgh, School of Medicine, and the Hillman Cancer Center. The process is summed up this way. It is a unique environment that emerges in the course of a tumor progression. As a result of its interactions with the host, it is created by and at all times shaped and dominated by the tumor, which orchestrates molecular and cellular events taking place in the surrounding tissues. The specific microenvironment that develops is unique to each tumor, but basically is an acidic, low oxygen, high sugar environment, which cancer loves. Cancer makes itself at home. The tumor is not only creating the ideal environment to multiply cancer cells, it is also setting up the right conditions to create cancer stem cells.
I have to stress this again. The microenvironment is made first by the messages or signals from the brain, which receive those messages from the subconscious and conscious thoughts produced by the mind. So the mind thoughts make the electromagnetic waves from the brain, which signals every cell in the body that message. So let's say that message is fear. Then all 100 trillion cells in your body receive that message. And once the cells are chronically receiving messages of fear, then the stress response is produced at the cellular level. This stress response causes an acidic and low oxygen environment locally, which causes the formation of cancer stem cells. Once formed, the cancer stem cells also produce messages locally to the microenvironment to continue producing this low oxygen and acidic environment. But it first came systemically from the brain to the cells, and then once the cancer stem cells were produced, then they supported it locally with their messages.
Normally, stem cell is an adult lie dormant, waiting until needed for repairing and replacing damaged tissue. Although most stem cells are concentrated in bone marrow, some are found throughout the body. When tissue is damaged, inflammation sets in to begin the healing and repair process. This process is supposed to be temporary, restoring the tissue and shutting down the inflammation because it is no longer needed. But a tumor appears to the body as a wound that will not heal. This just promotes the inflammation cycle, calling for the immune system and the stem cells to respond continually to this wound. When stem cells meet chronic inflammation, their normal metabolic pathways and their responses to the intracellular signaling changes, making them turn into cancer stem cells. They go over to the dark side. Like all cancer cells, they are corrupted normal cells, except that they have the powerful characteristics of stem cells. They are pluripotent, meaning they have the ability to transform to multiple cell types. Normal stem cells are very hardy and are prepared to bring forth new life, except that the new life they produce is cancer cells instead of new healthy tissue.
So pluripotent cells make all the normal cells in your body. These pluripotent cells are stem cells, and they have the ability to make all the cells, the bone cells, the muscle cells, the liver cells, the intestinal cells. Every cell in the body is made by a pluripotent stem cell. But when this environment around these pluripotent stem cells becomes inflammatory, then they transform into cancer stem cells to survive in the highly inflammatory and toxic environment that the normal pluripotent stem cells cannot survive in.
Research was done at Yokoyama University in Japan, published in the Journal of Experimental and Clinical Research. They took pluripotent stem cells, and under a simulated chronic inflammatory environment, they were able to cause the pluripotent stem cells to become cancer stem cells. They observed a multi-step process. First, the chronic inflammation disrupted the tissue homeostasis. Second, the cells changed their phenotypes, that is, their observable traits showing epigenetic changes, resulting in a new behavior to act more like cancer. And third, eventually an actual cancer stem cell would develop, multiply, and start creating the full-on inflammatory microenvironment needed to cause the pluripotent stem cell to switch to a cancer stem cell continually. Essentially, they were able to simulate and observe the creating of a tumor and coax normal stem cells to become cancer stem cells.
So again, the microenvironment is made first by the signals or messages sent from the mind to the brain. Once the messages cause a chronic inflammatory environment to be produced, which supports the cancer stem cell growth and migration, then the cancer stem cells themselves send out messages locally to the microenvironment surrounding them to maintain the inflammatory, low oxygen, and highly acidic environment, which continues to support their growth and spread. So first and foremost, it was systemically all the cells received the messages, and that came from the mind-brain connection. And then once the message was received at the cells and the cells started to change due to those messages, then those cells locally started to support that environment with messages of themselves. So the cancer stem cells support the local microenvironment by also producing local messages.
Cancer doesn't happen all at once. It requires the stages to be set up. The pluripotent stem cells changing to cancer stem cells appear. That stage requires inflammation to make the transformation. To heal, to be in health, inflammation must go. When it does, the cancer loses its special environment. Where a tumor has developed, you absolutely know there are cancer stem cells present. Cancer stem cells are resistant to chemotherapy and radiation, and your best defense is to get rid of the inflammation, and to do so with diet, lifestyle changes, and behavior modification. Now,
so what is behavior modification? It's an understanding that what you think, what you eat, what you drink, what you breathe, along with how much sleep you get and how much exercise you do, all decrease inflammation. So if you know a food is going to inflame you, then you have to modify your behavior by making better choices. The same with sleep, the same with exercise, the same with every lifestyle change. Your body was never meant for chronic inflammation. Let's just look at the animal kingdom, the animals in the wild. They get inflammation, but because their consciousness, their diet, their lifestyle, their exercise patterns do not promote an inflammatory environment, then the inflammation they experience is acute or short-term. So they will not transform normal pluripotent stem cells into cancer stem cells. What are the other differences between a zebra and you? There are many. First and most important, the zebra lives in the moment. It does not have a subconscious and conscious stress program stored on the hard drive of its brain. It doesn't have a consciousness to think on wrong thoughts, to meditate on fear and doubt. It only knows it's on the plain eating its grass. If it senses danger, not fear, but danger of a potential lion attack, then it simply stops eating and runs until the sense of danger is gone. Then it does the most beautiful thing of all, which if you could do this, if every human being could do this, they would heal. The zebra goes back and starts eating the grass again. It does not think, I wonder if the lion's going to get me in an hour. I wonder if he's waiting for me around the next corner. I'm so afraid the lion's going to be somewhere in my future because he was definitely in my past. No, the zebra does not have a consciousness like human beings. He has no future or past consciousness. So all the zebra knows is when it's running at that moment, when he senses no more danger, so it is clear to go back to what he was doing before, which was eating his meal, totally relaxed and digesting his meal because he's living in the moment. This is the basis of how we've treated patients for the last 40 years with our Mnemic New Medicine protocol. We address all the signals that change the environment to become inflammatory. We address the subconscious, which is most important, the conscious, which is second most important, the diet, which is third most important, along with the lifestyle changes to correct the signals to all the cells and produce an anti-inflammatory environment long term. This is called longevity. This is called health in body, mind, and spirit. To finish up, the Japanese study makes it undeniable. Cancer stem cells, which is the root of all cancer, simply come from a chronic inflammatory environment that surrounds pluripotent stem cells. This inflammatory environment and signaling transforms the normal stem cell into a cancer stem cell. End of the story. Seen in the laboratory, documented, and reproducible. So remember, if you ever get diagnosed with cancer, all the chemotherapy in the world, all the radiation in the world, all the surgery in the world, and all the immunotherapy in the world is not going to change the inflammatory signaling and the environment that was first and foremost caused by the subconscious stress programs developed earlier in your life and the conscious stress programs that have occurred throughout your life. These conventional therapies are not going to change your diet, your lifestyle, or any other factor that caused the cancer in the first place. They're just going to make a more inflammatory and a more toxic environment to stimulate more production of cancer stem cells, which just go out and produce new colonies of cancer cells throughout the body. How can you ever get well and stay well with a conventional protocol alone? So here's how it happens. Let's just kind of review all of this. First, you must have inflammation and toxicity in the body. This produces bioelectrical, electromagnetic, and biochemical signals or messages to all the cells in the body. If this inflammation and toxicity is chronic because the messages and signals are chronically saying there's a fire here, there's a problem here, this area needs attention, and it needs it now. If these messages continue days, weeks, and months, then the chronic inflammation sets forth a change in the body. It sees the environment like a wound that won't heal, so the same signals and messages finally transform the pluripotent stem cells, which are the root of all your healthy cells, contained in every gland, organ, and tissue. These messages change the normal stem cells into cancer stem cells. The only reason this occurs is because the body has no other choice but to react to the chronic inflammation by trying to produce a new type of stem cell that will survive in a new type of environment that the body was never designed to be in. That is chronic inflammation.
So no matter what your health challenge or health goals are, at Revolution New Medicine, we can help you on your journey. Go to revolutionnewmedicine.com and get more information, or give us a call at 630-871-0000.